So thank you, Ari, and thank you, Margarita, and to my colleague, Councilman Deutsch, many distinguished guest judges, our Congresswoman. Let me just first say, I know I came a little bit late as well. A lot of stuff happening today, all at the same time.
We mentioned governor recently.
Yes, and we talked about language access at poll sites with the governor. And the governor wants me to call him tomorrow about it, by the way. So.
And will he sign translation bill that introduced in both houses?
I'm not going to stop.
Okay.
You know me. But I just want to say and add my name for support for Congresswoman Clark. We heard before from Ari and Marita. I go by track record. I go by someone's actions and deeds, and not just simply by words. And those of you who know me know that I keep it real. I speak from here. There's no other way. So I have never been impressed and never will be impressed with some folks who just pop up on the eve of elections or during election year and suddenly say that they have, solved all the world's problems, or they will solve all the world's problems. I go by track record. Now, Congresswoman Clark, she has a distinguished career, but let me just tell you a couple of things. I'm not sure if it was touched on earlier, but I think it's worth emphasizing. Just recently, the HUD Secretary, Ben Carson, had the audacity to propose and to suggest that the most vulnerable families in America, low-income families, that they should be required to pay more in rent. That is literally right after 45 passed the largest tax cut for billionaires, millionaires in the history of this country. So I'm a big believer that budgets represent values and belief systems. And what we're basically seeing from our federal administration, they are valuing people who are doing more than just okay these days. They've been doing more than okay on the backs of the working class for a very long time. And at the same time, HUD, knowing about the years and decades of federal disinvestment in housing, knowing that residents in our buildings in NYCHA are being subjected to mold, to lead, leaky roofs, that the way they show their care and consideration is by saying you have to pay more. And one of the first people that I saw and heard who had the courage to speak up against this craziness, Congresswoman Clark. Congresswoman Clark. I also want to bring to your attention another issue that particularly impacts our community, but really across the city and across the country. This administration also, I think, for the first time in recent memory, or first time ever, are adding a citizenship question to the census. This is such a critical issue that directly impacts New York, states like New York, states like California, states that historically have welcomed all people. Why is this a big issue? Because those folks who are in the process of becoming naturalized, those folks for a variety of reasons might be currently seen as undocumented. People who are in the process or in the pipeline of trying to get their paperwork in order. And I'm sure my colleague could speak to the fact that day after day we have so many immigration cases where people who want to become naturalized U.S. citizens have to wait years for callbacks, for interview responses. People who want to be a part of the fabric of this country, who are a part of the fabric but want to be officially recognized, have to wait because of bureaucracy and incompetence and whatever else you want to call And the fact that people might be afraid to fill out the census directly affects every single key service you could imagine in our society. This should not be seen as a Republican or Democrat, liberal, conservative issue. This is an American issue. This is a New York issue. This is a public safety issue. This is an education issue. This is a transportation issue. Why? Because so many funding formulas are based on population size. The number of representatives that we have that we send to Congress is based on population size.
Federal funding.
Funding, representation, so many key things are dependent upon this. And if people are afraid or discouraged to fill out the census, look, I was a former teacher. My students, sometimes they would tell me that their parents are afraid to return a learning survey. The survey had nothing of consequence as far as their documentation. It was about, did your child feel safe in school? Did your child like going to school here? Very, basic, benign questions. And they were afraid to return them because people were afraid, well, who will see this? Will they have access to my address? Ari Kagan knows, where's Ari? He stepped out. Ari, you remember that I actually abstained on the city ID card vote because I had the audacity to ask the question, who will have access to the ID card information? Of course I support city ID cards. It's a wonderful, the municipal ID is a wonderful thing. But I asked the question. And I actually asked the question before Trump was elected. Because this was passed before. But I asked, who will have access to this data? If we're encouraging everyone to fill it out, sign up, who will have access to it? And I was told by the city administration, Councilman, you're paranoid on this issue. You're paranoid. Don't worry. This person won't get elected. I was thinking actually of Ted Cruz, but this person's also very bad, right? So that's why the census is so critical to us. It determines so many key funding priorities. And again, one of the first people, not just to tweet about it, not just to do some social media posts, but to organize, activate the base, to work with the New York Attorney General as well, Eric Schneiderman, one of the first leaders to speak up for our community, Congresswoman Clark. Please give her a round of applause. So